Good afternoon. The Vision team welcomes you here, St. Lucas, for our Future Story presentation. Now, this is a reenactment. We were here a week ago, Sunday, November 17th, for the actual presentation and affirmation. But for video recording purposes, we wanted to have a reenactment of this, which we will do today. So to start off, I want to give you a little background on what the Vision team's been doing to create the Future Story. Now, this all started about a year ago at the council meeting in November 2012, where there was some discussion on ways to improve the church, and council shared plans to look at a visioning process to determine the future direction for St. Lucas. So council has worked diligently to select a visioning process and methodology proposed by Dr. Dick Ham. And then the vision team was formed in early 2013 to implement the visioning process, with Dick Ham serving as a mentor and coach to the vision team. So the first step of the visioning process was the contextual analysis, which shows who we are today and the community that we serve. The contextual analysis was shared with the congregation during a special presentation on April 14th, 2013. And during this presentation, the contextual analysis was described as a live document with requests for additional input or changes. Now, we found feedback to be minimal from the congregation, but we still welcome your input as we move forward. But with minimal input, I think this confirms the vision team's assessment that there was a lot of good things about St. Lucas, and there are a few things that we could do better, which we will address. Now, the next step of the visioning process was the period of discernment. The congregation was invited to join a triad where groups of 3 members could prayerfully consider what God is calling St. Lucas to be in the next 5 to 7 years. Vision triads have been very successful. We had over 150 participants meeting for 10 sessions over a 4-month period. Our mentor, Dick Ham, he's received reports from over 50 triads for each of the 10 sessions. So if you do the math, 50 triads, 10 sessions, that would be 500 plus reports that he received. Now, I'll also tell you in my own personal experience that triads have built many new relationships among our members, helping us to understand the perspective of others. So after we completed the period of discernment and the visioning process, we wanted to give an opportunity for other members who weren't able to participate in a formal triad to get their input. So we scheduled a series of 1-hour and 3-hour workshops with Dick Ham. And this allowed us to collect additional input outside of the formal triads. And I also know many in the congregation have also sent letters and emails to Dick Ham providing additional input. So I want to let you know your voices have been heard through the visioning triads, the visioning workshops, your letters, and emails. From all this, Dick Ham compiled over 200 pages of comments for the vision team to review. Now, all input was confidential. We removed the names and sources so that we can focus on what was said and not who said it. And from this input, the vision team was able to clearly identify and discern several major themes which were used to build our future story. Now, I also want to note, when we went through these comments, there were several good ideas and comments that were not identified as major themes as we went through this input. Many of these specific ideas and comments are very valuable, and they will be considered for future steps in the visioning process. Also want to remind you the future story, it's a glimpse into the general direction God calls for us as we move forward into a successful future. But the future story is not a strategic plan. So it does not contain many specifics and will not contain final decisions. Now, upon affirmation, the future story will serve as a roadmap to develop a strategic plan and action plan. And the future story will also be used by the search committee to complete the profile for St. Lucas UCC. The vision team asks for your patience as we build a 5 to 7 year plan for St. Lucas. The congregation will have the opportunity to provide additional input as we build the strategic plan and action plan. So at this time, the vision team would like to present the future story in the form of a skit that's going to last a little over 20 minutes. Now, we're going to fast forward here. We haven't invented time travel, but let's all pretend that we're in the year 2018 and we're at a local coffee shop. and we'll be observing a casual encounter among friends, two of who are members of St. Lucas, and the third person in the conversation is looking for a new church home.
So that's why we're leaving our church. After everything that's happened, we've just decided it's time to move on.
Well, I'm really sorry to hear that. Are you sure that you're ready to take that step?
I think we are. We've prayed about it and discussed it as a family, and I think we're going to start looking for churches around our neighborhood. But to be honest, I'm not sure where to begin.
Well, I think I do. Why don't you and your family join me and my family at our church, St. Lucas UCC, this Sunday? We have a lot of opportunities that we can offer to members and visitors alike. So what do you think?
St. Lucas UCC. Now that you mention it, I think I saw something online about an event that you had coming up this month. I'm a little nervous about jumping in with the new church. What's it like anyway?
Well, at St. Lucas, we talk about our values and purpose with 5 core words: worship, mission, education, evangelism, and fellowship. These 5 words, they define the goals our church strives to achieve each year, which is providing people with opportunities to worship, leading mission programming to do the work of God, developing Christian education to deepen our faith and personal growth, inviting others to join us through evangelism to fuel our church's future, and finally, building the family of God through nurturing fellowship.
It sounds like a lot of nice words put together, but what are you doing to actually achieve those goals?
Okay, well, we center our efforts on a yearly church theme. It's most often rooted in a Bible verse. The message in the verse we select for the year, it helps give guidance to nearly everything we do, from mission work to programming to even our sermons. For example, our theme this year is based on 1 Peter 4:10. Each of you should use whatever gifts you have received to serve others as faithful stewards of God's grace in its various forms. Of course, it's not like we reinvent the wheel each year. There's a lot of consistencies after all. It would practically be blasphemy to get rid of the annual church fish fry. But the scripture theme, it helps renew our efforts each year and gives us an all-church purpose that unites us across generations and interests.
That sounds kind of neat. What else does St. Lucas value?
Well, it's important to our congregation that everyone has a place they can go to worship that feels like home, like they belong. We've carefully designed each of our worship services to have a consistent message. However, the message is delivered uniquely depending on which service you attend. That way, no matter how you want to celebrate God or reflect upon God's message, you can find your most fulfilling way to worship at St. Lucas.
That's interesting, but you know us, though. We'll need to attend a service that's great for families. I want to be able to send the kids to a Sunday school program.
Well, families, they don't really have to choose a certain service at St. Lucas. Both of our services on Sunday morning offer children's programming. Well, we actually have 3 services in total: a Saturday evening peace service, a Sunday morning love service, followed by a Sunday morning joy service.
Whoa, peace, joy, love. What are you guys, Woodstock?
Well, it's a bit more original than naming our services by the time they happen to meet. It was motivated by the idea to use the Advent wreath as inspiration for our worship service names. The wreath is symbolic that Christ in the Trinity is the center of each of our worship services at St. Lucas, just as the Christ candle is in the middle of the Advent wreath.
Well, that sounds kind of nice. So which one do family attend?
Families tend to mix it up each week. My family will sometimes go to the love service because the kids will have an afternoon game, but if we choose to sleep in, we can just as easily attend the later joy service. And it's really nice to attend a different style of worship every so often. And our youth, they're given a lot of opportunities to be involved in worship services. So sometimes, instead of attending Sunday school, they actually stay in the sanctuary and help facilitate different parts of worship. We even have opportunities for youth members to serve on committees throughout the church. And that's just because we know our youth are an important part of our church today and an equally important part of our future.
I like all the youth opportunities. And that's nice that you don't necessarily see the same people at each service. Sometimes churches have a tendency to become segregated based on the services that different groups or even generations attend, don't you think?
Well, it's been a while since that's been a problem at St. Lucas. You see, we really learned to appreciate the diversity of our services. that we have to offer. And many members will even make a point to visit a service time they haven't been to in a few weeks just to see other members they've missed, or especially take the time to meet new faces. It's sort of a natural occurrence that we get out of our comfort zone and routine, and we do something different once in a while.
Is there a variety of ages at your church?
Oh, you bet. We cover every generation at St. Lucas, and it's one of the things we really pride ourselves on. Even better, no matter which service you go to, you'll find all generations represented. We've got several events throughout the year that encourage interaction across all age groups as well. We just celebrated the 5-year anniversary of the all-church campout on our athletic fields.
Oh, that sounds like fun.
Every generation played a part. Our younger families pitched tents and helped set up the event. Our Boomers Club organized snacks and grilled burgers. And our 20 plus or minus group and our youth group got together and they sponsored games with all of the children. And even some of our senior members stayed late for s'mores and storytelling. This is, of course, just one example of how we celebrate our multi-generational church family. John, hi.
Hey, Lauren.
Good to see
How
you.
you doing?
I'm so glad you're here.
What's happening?
John, I want you to meet my friend Pam.
Hi.
My pleasure.
John, I was just telling Pam all about St. Lucas. Her family is looking for a new church.
Well, I certainly hope to see you at St. Lucas next Sunday. What were you discussing?
Lauren just finished telling me about your different church-wide events. They sound like a lot of fun. Did you really spend the night in a tent?
No, I snuck out after the s'mores. Camping isn't exactly my forte, but I didn't want to miss the earlier activities. It's important for members of my age to be involved and present and engaged. We're the ones that built the foundation after all. No, seriously, some of us literally built the church. But we also need to pass the torch, teach the younger generations how to take the lead. So now I mostly come for the food.
That's so not true. Actually, a few years ago, John and I served on an extremely important team together. It involved a visioning process over the course of several months and engaged 150 members in designing a strategic future plan for our church.
Wow.
I was really encouraged to see how smoothly the congregation took the process. We met in small groups for a number of months and had prayerful discussion about what was working at St. Lucas and what needed to be improved.
You know, we're really lucky to have seasoned members of our church act as mentors to the rest of us, guiding and encouraging our leadership, sharing their wisdom, and encouraging younger generations to make decisions that are in the best interest of St. Lucas.
So how do you come up with the different ideas for programs and the roles that the members play?
Anyone can suggest an idea of St. Lucas, whether it's a church-wide event or a new social group or a topic for next month's adult education series. We like people to know that their voice matters.
That's true.
You know, that was a big problem at my last church. There was poor communication, a lack of transparency. People were arguing just for the sake of arguing, and it became such a negative environment.
I feel for you. We've been there before at St. Lucas, but we've had to work through it as a family. The good news is that you can get through it.
Listen, you really can't be 1,000 people strong and not have differences of opinion. However, we know our differences, they can make us stronger. And we've got several ways to make sure we know the pulse of the people, so to speak. So whether that's through our Know Your Council forums or our frequent congregational meetings, or even just approaching a council member during social hour, all we ask is that everyone respect each other's opinions and don't do anything anonymously. We pride ourselves on talking to each other, not about each other.
It used to be that some members were very protective of their turf, but that only, we found, would serve divisiveness.
So we try to make every aspect of church life transparent and open to everyone. Because when communication is open, there's no one feeling left out or that their opinion doesn't matter. And you know what? We're 1,000 people strong every weekend. Just 5 years ago, there were only maybe 500 people consistently coming to worship, so we feel like what we're doing really works.
That almost sounds too good to be true. You know, at our church, we really struggled to make friends, and that's partly why we're ready to move on. It just felt like no one reached out or cared that we were there.
Well, I'm hoping you'll find this, won't mind experiencing the opposite at St. Lucas, because we try not to let anyone slip through the cracks. No matter which service you attend, you will see people making a point to get acquainted with you.
That's true. People are really quick to introduce themselves to new faces at St. Lucas UCC. We aren't one of those churches where everyone sits in the same seat every Sunday. We move around a lot, we talk a lot, we ask you questions because at the end of the day, we'd really love to see you return. So we try to make visitors feel welcomed. Each service lends us the ability to do that just a bit differently, but you won't be overlooked at St. Lucas. And if you're not there the following week, someone's probably going to notice.
Wow. How do you guys do it? I mean, how do you keep such a good thing going?
Well, it's been a collective church effort for sure. We had to redesign how we thought about our church culture and our future. We even had to learn how to grow and change effectively and strategically.
You know, change isn't for something I'm necessarily good at. Sometimes I have a hard time understanding how change can be a positive thing. But it helps when you're trying to move forward and evolve. The history of our church is still revered. St. Lucas is the place it is because of its history. We do a lot of things to work to preserve and celebrate the historical achievements of our church. For example, I just finished taping an oral history session for our video series on the website promoting the heritage of our church. I think it's practically gone viral.
How have you managed to convince so many different generations and types of people to become engaged and involved while also sharing the same direction and purpose?
Well, you know what? It has a lot to do with our attitudes. We appreciate the fact that we're a multi-generational church, and we celebrate that you can interact with people from all walks of life at our church. Everyone is welcome at St. Lucas, especially as a UCC congregation. We make great efforts to be all-inclusive. We look at our worship style diversity as a real strength. It's an opportunity to serve more people. Sure, we've had bumps in the road, and listen, I'm sure we'll have a few more, but when we have a problem at our church, we tackle that problem head-on as a congregation.
Often we get together in small groups to prayerfully discuss our issues. These small group conversations help us recognize where God is calling St. Lucas UCC.
It must take a huge amount of lay leadership. I bet you guys really suffer from the 80-20 rule, you know, where 20% of the people do 80% of the work.
Actually, we work hard to avoid that. We found that our committees were overly complex and formal at times, so we focused on simplifying our committee structure. In some cases, the committees transitioned to become more flexible, small action groups that enable decisions to be made more effectively. This has allowed for more members to get involved in church activities without having formal, long-term commitments. This even made it easier for new members to get involved in church activities, more quickly integrating the newer members into the St. Lucas church family.
That's true,
nice.
true. And we also have a really stable staff and strong pastoral leadership. We also never seem to want for volunteers or lay leadership when called. We know how important it is, especially given the breadth of our worship opportunities, to pitch in and help out. We'll make a public need for something, maybe another AV crew member, another singer for the choir, maybe someone to help out with youth programming, and the members in our church step up. Everyone knows to check our website, our weekly email blasts, or our Get Involved board in the Welcome Center to see what kind of help is needed. And that's not because people feel pressured or bullied or like no one else is going to do it, but people at St. Lucas, they're just always answering a natural call to serve. We've worked really hard to create a great worship community, and we continue to work hard to sustain it.
What about mission work? Does St. Lucas do any?
Oh, we sure do. It's one of our 5 core values, after all. Our entire church rallies around mission work every year, but I have to say the youth and the millennial generation at our church, they lead an inspiring frontline effort. But we partner with other local churches all the time and even organizations throughout the local community. We saw a real need to add more hands-on service opportunities. While we continue to be great about financially supporting mission work, we found that it's extremely fulfilling when we roll up our sleeves together as a congregation. So I'd say truly the local community around St. Lucas recognizes our church in large ways because of our mission work.
In addition to St. Lucas mission work outside the community, we prioritize mission work within our congregation. This has always been one of St. Lucas' biggest strengths. We really care about each other, remembering that we're all members of God's family. A lot of this mission is carried on by our caring ministries, a group of volunteers who visit members who are in the hospital or homebound. In recent years, we realized that we needed different types of congregational care. So now, if, for instance, a member is unexpectedly passes away or a spouse is deployed in the military, we have a group of volunteers who bring God's love and comfort to those individuals and families. I guess that's a long way of saying we're always there for each other.
That's true. The sense of community at St. Lucas is really special. Some families have been a part of this community for many generations, and I really appreciate how excited they are to welcome and accept new members and visitors. All of the small group opportunities help with that for sure, since that's the best way to meet people and form those really tight relationships. But even when you just walk into the social hall, you can tell that we believe the Holy Spirit binds each and every one of us into one united congregation. For most of us, St. Lucas just feels like home.
Okay, what are your sermons like there? Because for me, that's something that's really important.
Of course. Well, our pastors deliver sermons that are relatable and memorable and really motivational. But our pastors do so much more than just deliver sermons. They're extremely involved in our internal church community and the local community as well. They do a great job of connecting members to each other and making you think about your faith journey. Plus, we offer several opportunities to further your learning. There are various Bible studies offered throughout the year and even some online Bible study modules. So if you're looking for something less formal, you could even lead a small discussion group yourself or post something on our Get Involved board and see if anyone wants to come and sign up for an impromptu meetup discussion.
Oh, that's nice. What about groups that people can get involved in? Do you guys have a lot of different groups?
Well, sure. There's a list on our website that we work pretty hard to keep up to date. St. Lucas knows that in this day and age, most people like to get their information online. So we do a great job of keeping things on our website current.
We do? I didn't know that. Of course, I rarely use a computer. I'm old school. I just call the office and they tell me what's going on. Of course, you can receive the visitor or the bulletin by mail.
Okay, well, see, so nobody falls through the cracks. But anyway, to answer your question about small groups, I'll give you a couple of groups that have just formed in the last 5 years.
It's that easy to form a group at your church? You're kidding.
It sure is. No. St. Lucas empowers members to head up groups and events. So first, there's an adoption group where parents who have adopted kids and others who are considering adoption, they get together and they discuss challenges and they offer each other advice and support. Another group is an addiction and recovery group. They meet to help each other through the lifelong recovery process, and they've even spearheaded some of our mission work to help reach out to others in need, particularly in the local community.
What groups are you both members of?
Well, I used to be a member of 20 Plus or Minus, but my husband and I are starting to gravitate toward an older crowd. So maybe 30 Plus or Minus, or maybe that new outdoors club that's picking up. 20 Plus or Minus is mostly people who are starting their work life. Some are married, some are not. We made a focused effort to attract younger adults about 5 years ago, and now this is one of the most active and involved groups at St. Lucas. That's really kind of the beauty of our church. We recognize that needs are always evolving, and we encourage small communities within our larger one.
I dabbled in several small groups. I was recently nominated to be the captain of the rugby team, but I don't think I have time.
You know, what about weddings? My sister's been looking for a church that can accommodate an evening service. What can St. Lucas offer?
Well, our Saturday evening peace service has a really flexible attitude when it comes to accommodating weddings. And that's because that we know having a wedding at St. Lucas is a really good way to give couples a strong spiritual foundation for their union.
Maybe your sister could come to church this Sunday also.
We never miss a shameless evangelism opportunity. Speaking of ways we engage the community, I know your youngest is going to start preschool next year. I'm sure you've heard of our preschool at St. Lucas. It's kind of a big deal in the mission of our church and the community. Our church has fostered an extremely supportive and collaborative relationship with our preschool, so I'd be happy to get you connected to that opportunity as well.
Goodness, I have to say I'm pretty interested in coming to see things for myself.
Well, great. Well, we'll see you in worship on Sunday, and we can catch up over coffee and a donut during social hour between services. The social hour is a casual opportunity to catch up with friends, and especially take the time to meet new people. So everyone's going to know you're a visitor, and you'll probably have people wanting to meet you. You'll be like a celebrity.
I'll take you by the visitors board, and you can get set up with some nifty take-homes and a DVD that shows a quick tour of our church. It showcases everything that we have to offer, and some brochures from our different social groups.
Or I'll tell you what, if you prefer, you can just go out on our website and see all of this before you even show up for the first time. We've also got a one-page guide with contact names, numbers, and email addresses for nearly all aspects of church life. And if you decide to join St. Lucas, you'll be given a sponsor who will help guide you as you become acquainted with everything. But I'm sure that you'll find in just a couple of weeks you'll be forming new friendships and know several people you can go to with questions. We really try to make it inviting for new visitors to learn about St. Lucas and begin to feel at home.
I can't wait. But listen, guys, I lost track of time and I need to get going.
Okay.
But I can't wait to see what St. Lucas sounds. It sounds like a great church home for us.
Well,
Thank you so much.
I'm excited you're coming next week. I think you'll find we have a lot to offer.
See you both in church.
All right, so now we need to kind of shift back from 2018, go back 5 years to 2013 to the present day. It's a great job. I think the future looks bright for St. Lucas. I think God has a plan for St. Lucas, which has already been affirmed by the congregation during this presentation a week ago. So with that affirmation, the vision team is going to take a look at your comments that you have from our survey cards, and we'll see how that incorporates into our future plans. With affirmation, the future story will be used as a guide as we start to work on the strategic plan. And our plan is to review the strategic plan with the congregation at a future date. So stay tuned for updates. And with that, I thank you for coming this afternoon, and God bless. Thank you.